So yeah, last week we were really treated to a beautiful discussion from Linda. And wow, you shared so much. And I really felt guilty to ever complain again about anything that's gone on in my life about, because you shared so many things, that you have been through. And I felt like my trials and tribulations, were very pale compared to that. And we all made choices before we came here. We chose the launching pad for our next excursion, and the best opportunity that we could come up with, literally with our guides, with our teachers, our mentors, and the masters of this journey called Ascension. And every one of us chose this launching pad before we came into this incarnation. And, a lot of times, certainly in my family, last weekend I spent some time with my family. It was fantastic. I'm not going to show any pictures to you, so I'm not going to drag you through that. But it was a redneck wedding. It was great. It was my son's second wedding. And I will share one thing with you is that they had them all it was at his property, their property now. And anyway, they had a little gazebo up by a little creek. It was a beautiful setting out in the woods. And and so they had the music playing and all the audience is there, and suddenly this razor, a razor is one of those four-wheel vehicles, and it's just a cage. And these guys get in and they'll go straight up and they roll and it's it's horribly dangerous and extremely redneck. And I'm a redneck, so it's okay for me to say that. And he wheeled up in his razor, and all the people are looking, and he just wheels up in it, and he jumps out and he strikes a pose. It was really fun. So that kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so we have all chosen the launching pad for our next best life and our best opportunity for awakening. And sometimes, when I'm talking to people, especially people in my family, they're like, more fundamentally Christian, and that's a stepping stone. It certainly was for me, and I'm sure it was for many of you here. And anyway, when we have children, it's very rare that we take into consideration that we have free will, and each of the partners in the relationship to have children have free will. But we rarely take into account that the child has free will before it comes into this, incarnation. And I have one sister who, in fact, an amazing family, and she carried her child all the way to birth, but it was a stillbirth. And that's just such a heartbreaking experience to have, is right. But she just had another baby about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and so we're all celebrating that, But I didn't tell her that maybe it's the same baby that came back and just said, you weren't really quite ready for me yet, because there's no mistakes in God, and you haven't made any mistakes, not really. None of us have. So I'd like to just take a brief moment, if I can, because I'm inspired this morning. That we are warring in our world, and we say, what can I do? And Linda, encapsulated it perfectly last week. We can pray for our brothers and sisters, right? We can pray for our family and friends, and we've traveled with all of these beings for hundreds of lifetimes. We've all been everywhere and every when. And when you think about those things, it's hard for this little mind to get its head around that, so to speak. But again, you are much, much more. We are all, each individually and collectively, much, much more than just what we at least have been tried to be conditioned to be in this life, which is small, and bodies, and helpless, and not worthy, and all the stuff that goes into being human, or the conditioning that goes into being in this existence called humanity. But thank goodness the light has come, right? And you're it. You're it, and I'm it, and we're it. And so I'm brought to tears this morning because I feel so much love and gratitude in this room, in this space. And when we gather like this, it overwhelms me. The Brother T self or the Tony self or whatever that self is. But then when we tune in and dial into spirit, it's certain. It is certain that we are exactly where we're supposed to be. Each and every one of us, which would include all of our brothers and sisters, unfortunately, who are doing their part in the world today to help us to see what a miserable job we're doing at trying to run the world and warring with each other. And so some of you in this room certainly may have, and I have, some friends in Israel who are just horrified that within the last 48 hours they woke up to war. Unexpected. Unanticipated. Yep, they've planned way better than we have, I think, but all the planning it really doesn't work. As Jesus tells us in the Course in Miracles, your strength lies in your defenselessness. That's a hard one, right? But your strength lies in your defenselessness. So how can we help our brothers and sisters around the world, whether it's in Ukraine or Russia or Palestine or Israel or Iran or wherever it may be, or in your neighborhood where you live or across the street from us here? We can practice being the light, and we do that simply by connecting with this inner guidance system, the self that we have experienced being referred to as the Holy Spirit. Jesus tells us that's nothing more than your right mind, which is the bigger part of you, right? That's never chosen to sleep, as Jesus calls it, a tiny mad idea, a dream of separation. So if we can first and foremost realize that we have a choice, that's quantum leap in changing our world. And there's not one here who hasn't yet discovered that. That's over the age of 12, right? So once we discover we have a choice, now the work really begins, because we have to practice to remember. Just like we've practiced for decades, well, I'll speak for myself, decades and decades and decades of jumping to resistance, or jumping to a conclusion, or jumping to a judgment about what's happening over in that spot or over there, or what this person or that person's doing. We've practiced that so well that it instantly happens. In 1/10,000th of a second, our egoic mind makes a decision that something is good or bad. And when it can't, then it might spend a couple more minutes going back into the past and trying to evaluate the situation that we're in, right? But the higher self is waiting patiently to be tuned in, to be dialed into, right? And how do we do that? We're going to continue to repeat this again and again and again because it's so important. It's a practice. We've been practicing being judgmental. Now we need to practice to unlearn that habit. It is indeed a habit. And begin to start to practice so it becomes a habit to take a good deep breath. Let's do that now. So we turn within. We close the eyes and the ears, if possible, to the outer. And I, at this point in my practice, have learned to greet myself. Capital S self. Greet myself by simply saying, "Are you there?" Right? It's a game I play. We play. Yes, we play. Yes. Because the voice of certainty, your guidance, your right mind is always patiently awaiting for you to give it a little recognition. It's not hard to do, but it takes practice to remember to do it. And thank God we have each other here. We have True Thought. We have the guidance of all the teachers that have been coming through now And as you spend more time with us at True Thought, you find that we've kind of hemmed ourselves in a little bit to most of the teachers who are very much aligned with what Jesus calls the curriculum, which is to realize your journey, right? Our journey in humanity. And we're now beginning to understand a little bit more about the bigger picture of why we've been doing what we're doing and where we're going, right? So would you find some peace? Because I do. I'll just share it with you that maybe Spirit has decided, okay, we've been working this plan, but it's not working as well as we hoped. And what was the plan? Well, basically that we would come off into this little dream of separation, step off into the darkness and forget who we are, and then, work our way back to realization of self, capital S self, the realization of who we are in God. So when we say, I know who you are, we're elevating ourselves to what we like to call the upper room. And I love to call this space the upper room, right? Because we make it what it is. Behold, we make all things new. You and I are making everything what it means to us because we're giving everything all the meaning that it has, each of us individually. So where one person says that's bad and the other person says that's good, but they're both deciding what their experience is, yes? So we have that power. We have that amazing power because thoughts are things to give everything all the meaning that it has. And so when we elevate ourselves intentionally and through practice to the upper room, in this space we hold love not just for each other, but for ourselves as well. I understand when children act really weird because, well, they're children. And they don't have a lot to pull on, and they're naive, and they're going to do things, and we can see that, well, that's not really very smart to do that, right? For us to war with each other in this world as adults is not very smart. It's absolutely foolish. It's ridiculous. We look like fools to war with each other, knowing what we know and what's been gifted and given to us from beyond the veil, right? And there are those who are holding us in such light and such love that we at least have found our way there, and more of us are joining this movement every moment of the day because there is a quickening now of the energy that we're experiencing. We're in the last stages, not of an Armageddon, but of a time when there is a refreshing of how and who we be in this experience. And so at the risk of sounding really weird, I will share with you that we've been listening on Tuesday nights in our little circle of love. There's a teaching that is just coming through now, is beginning to evolve. So how many people have heard of A Course in Miracles? Probably most everybody here, right? A Course in Miracles. That was book 1 of the Miracles. I call it the Miracle Books, right? Book 2 is A Course of Love. Anyone heard of that? I see a few hands, right? That's number 2. That takes you to there's always more. Have you noticed? Right? And Spirit loves the number 3. Spirit loves to teach us in trilogy, right? So there is now a 3rd trilogy book, right? A miracle book. And almost all these books are always in trilogies too, by the way. In A Course in Miracles, there was the textbook and the workbook, and then the manual for teachers. And in A Course of Love, there was 40 days, 40 nights, and the treatises, and then A Course of Love. So there was 3 sections. So it's just interesting, and the Spirit is very playful and joyful, right? And I love the way that we're being taught now by those who are evolving and opening up and allowing themselves to become the scribes of this truth. And this truth is true. It doesn't change up on you, right? And now we're getting it from these multiple sources. And another one, Linda and I were talking about this morning, is Paul Selig. We've been talking about Paul's work. Claudia and I actually first met each other. We were at a small gathering like this, and the guides, Paul was channeling, and this was freaking him out because he never thought he'd find himself doing that, but he was channeling the guides. And so at the end of the night, I'll share this quick story with you because it's one of my favorites. And I was in the room, and I'm looking around, and I'm single, and I'm not engaged with anyone at all. I'm really, at that point in my life, very, very, just had decided no more relationships. They're hard as it is anyway, so I'm just going to, you know. I've already had all the relationships I need. I think I got the T-shirt on it, so I'm good. And so I'm there just to do, well, I'm going to say it's probably very similar maybe to what compelled you to be here today. I'm there to learn more about myself. But a friend of mine had found Paul and said he's going to be up in Waterville, Ohio. And, you know, it'd be great, you know, to go there. But, you know, she said, I don't want to go by myself. She said, would you consider going? I said, yeah, I used to work in Toledo. You know, I'll go with you. I know right to where that's at. So we drove up, right? And she was actually one of my Course in Miracles students. And she's since passed away at the age of 43. Yeah, contracted cancer within like 60 days, just like that. You never know. We don't know. None of us. We don't know. We plan. So we're in this room, and Paul is starting to settle in. And so Paul is a trance channel. So he kind of goes into a channeling mode, and then but it's kind of different for me because he'll speak it, mutter it, and then he'll speak it out loud. Then he'll speak it, and then he'll speak it out loud, and I'm speaking it out loud, and he'll speak it out loud like that. And so it's a little hard to track at first, or at least it was for me. But anyway, that's why we're there. He just finished his first book called Word, I Am the Word. And I think that book was 2009, somewhere around there. But anyway, here we are. It's late on Friday evening, and the workshop is beginning. It's going to be for the whole weekend. And so they're about to get started, and I see this woman walk in, right? And I'm like, oh, she's nice looking, but I'm not doing relationships anymore. Yeah. That's right. Right. And so at the end of the night, you know, she's sitting almost across from me, right? And I'm just, you know, I'd catch a glance at her every now and then. But, you know, we're doing the stuff, and the guys are, man, they're dense, and they're coming on, you know, it's like drinking from a fire hose kind of thing. So. And so they get to the end of the night, and they go, okay, so let's have one woman and one man come out into the middle. And they've been taking us through this practice. And so she steps out, and this other gentleman down, he steps out, and they're standing in front of each other now, and he says, okay, now repeat after me, blah, blah, blah. And they do the practice, right? And then, then they say, okay, now each one of you bring someone else out to the center. And I'm watching very closely, right? And she's looking around the room, and I'm way over there, and she's looking around the room, and she's looking around the room, and she goes, and I jump out. I'm not going to miss this opportunity, you know. So we go out there, and okay, if you haven't noticed, I cry a lot. And I'm already in tears of what I'm learning because I'm into this energy. It's overwhelming, and I'm so grateful to recognize it because for the first time in my life, once I got into the spiritual pathway, I actually began to recognize the vibrational field of love, right? And as an egoic person, the ego doesn't really know it, right? It kind of tries to decide what it is, but it can't recognize it easily. And boy, I was like, I'm feeling it for this place. And anyway, she calls me out. So the very first words, right, that we say to each other, standing face to face, were these words. You've heard them before. So repeat after me. I know who you are.
I know who you are.
I know what you are.
I know what you are.
I know how you serve.
I know how you serve.
Word, I am word.
Word, I am word.
Feel this, yes? Can you feel it? Because what you're doing is giving voice to your higher self, the aspect of you, again, your right mind, the Holy Spirit, your true self, capital S self, whatever you want to call it, intuitive self, whatever, it shows up as all of these things. But the point I'm wanting to make is those are the first words that we ever spoke to each other. We repeated those words at our wedding vows. We wrote our wedding vows, and we repeated those words at our marriage, which will be 5 years ago this week. Yeah. Those are the teachings from the guides. The guides, as it turns out, is Melchizedek, who was, you'll see him in the New Testament and the Old Testament. That name appears a couple of times, and he was a king of Salem and also a mentor to Abraham. Goes way back, this guy, way back, right? But it's a group consciousness. It's not like we see ourselves as individuals, but in the spirit, we're all joined. And there are groups, I look at them like clusters of grapes on the vine. And they identify themselves often as a particular name or someone in that cluster that has been prominent in helping us to awaken. And so in regards to Paul Selig and the guides, they've identified themselves as Melchizedek. They now have scribed 11 books already. 11 books. And these books are, 300 to 400 pages. And they take you gently, but certainly along a deeper and more profound understanding of the curriculum. And it's exactly the same as spoken in a new way. I refer to it like we're all at a table, and there's this beautiful bouquet of flowers, right? Sitting in the middle of the table. And we can all say we're seeing this bouquet of flowers, and we can all say, yes, absolutely, we see this bouquet of flowers. But you and I, sitting across the table from each other, let's swap seats. Now we're both seeing this bouquet, but we're seeing it in a new way. It's still exactly there. We still feel the energy of the bouquet. It's there. Nothing's really changed to that. But the way that we have the ability to perceive it now has changed. If we all got up and changed seats, your experience here this morning would completely change, right? If you change your seat every week when you come in here, your experience will change every week, right? Just from where you're sitting. Just from let's all take just a moment, take a good deep breath and just adjust your seating and put both feet on the floor and just sit up. Do you notice how your perception just changed? It does, right? In every moment. So the teachings that we are moving to, helping Spirit to introduce you to, are absolutely congruent with this curriculum, which is your journey of ascension, your journey of awakening. And we're here because we cannot be outside of a relationship. You have to forgive God. God made you and created you in a relationship, and you can't be outside of it. You can try. Good luck. I tried. I really did. And then she went like this and pulled me out of the group. Okay? Oh, here's one more little thing I'll share with you. It's so the next day, we're starting. Now it's Saturday. It's going to be all day, right? And, I'm kind of looking around. And my friend, when we left that Friday evening, she said, oh, you got it. She said, because I was talking about my experience with Claudia, right? She said, oh, you got it bad, don't you? And I said, no, but, she was really cute. She was really nice. I had no idea who she was. No idea. But the next day, I'm looking around. I was, is she there? Is she there? No. She didn't show up. And they're just about ready to start. And suddenly I see her walking in the door. And she's looking around the room for an empty chair. And there's only one. Right here. You say, you think things are accident. I say, yeah. So we spent the whole day. I'm leaning in and she's leaning away. She'd cross her leg and I'd see her little foot bouncing and we'd get in rhythm. We're in rhythm together. I had it bad. I really did. I had it bad right off the bat. Right? But when you meet someone you've been journeying with, you can't really avoid the energy. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've met them, right? We've met many, many people in these lifetimes that we've journeyed with before. And some of those journeys weren't too pleasant, so we don't like them too much right away. I don't like you, And others like, come closer. Okay, and then I'll leave it alone, but I will tell you the last little bit here. We went to church the next day, and we're at this little community of about 40 people called Center for Spiritual Living. No, that wasn't it. It was Centers for, what was it? CCL, Center for Conscious Living. Center for Conscious Living, and that's in Waterville, Ohio. And so we went to church there in this little place, we got the bulletin, and I looked on there, and her name's on there. Now, see, I still don't know her at all, right? All day Saturday, she's leaning away, and I'm crying because of this download that's coming from the Spirit is amazing, and all these other women are coming over to me, giving me tissues, and she's like, leave him alone, he's fine, he doesn't need it. Let him have his process. Okay, so here's the last day, right? We go to church, and I tell you, she doesn't show up again. I'm looking around for her that morning, but she had gone to pick up her mother. She brought her mother to church that morning, and so again, she's the last one in the door. But I saw her name on there, and and I'm telling my friends, she's a minister. Maybe she can keep up with me, because I was really looking. That's the reason I'd given up on a relationship, because I couldn't really find anyone who could speak my language here, the language we're all speaking here now. I couldn't find anybody in my little circle of influence in Redneck, Tennessee. They just weren't there. Right? I love Tennessee and I love rednecks, but they just weren't speaking our language yet, right? So Sunday, here she is, and then she leaves, and then we have our last little session. And I don't see her again, and all the seats are changed, everybody's sitting in it, whatever. And I'm looking around, and I'm thinking, well, she's not here, and there's no seats beside me, And all of a sudden, the very last moment, this guy runs up behind me, and he goes, oh, there's a couple more people coming. We got to have some more chairs. And he puts 2 more chairs right here beside me. She walks in, and she looks around for a chair. And one lady had already taken the other one, and so there's only 1 chair left again. 2 days in a row. And now she's going, oh, he's setting me up. But we know now that Spirit set us up, right? Because now we are in a holy relationship. And a holy relationship is simple. It's to know that you have a responsibility to be the light. And you're not taking it lightly. And since we need help, all of us, are in a holy relationship. We're in the upper room. We're making a commitment to each other to be here, show up for each other, to be here and help each other to remember, to take that good deep breath, to check in. And a holy relationship is going to God before you act out in any way, right? Whatever's going on with you and your relationships. And we can have holy relationships with everyone. In fact, we do. We have a holy relationship with every one of our brothers and sisters. And certainly our animals, right? Our little fur babies. Since Claudia left, I'm really having a great relationship with our cat. We're in a holy relationship. And I just love her, and she comforts me. And so in this relationship, we help each other to remember to be the light. And in this holy relationship, we're helping each other to take another step along the pathway to begin to understand who we are. I know who you are. You are God's perfect child. I'm talking about you now. Neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it, regardless how you see yourself. God is not confused about who you are. God is certainty and certainly knows the blessing that you are. Even if you pretend it's not true. It is true. I know who you are. I know what you are. You are the light, expressing in the world of form for all of your brothers and sisters, and you came here to help them remember who they were as soon as you can remember who you are. And maybe one of your brothers and sisters will help you remember who you are. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you for helping us. And when I come here with you, And I see you walk in the door, I'm just overwhelmed with appreciation and gratitude because you're helping me remember who I am. God bless you. I need all the help I can get. Right? And so, how do we serve? I know how you serve. So here I am, Christ in form. Jesus said it best when he said it, when you see me, you see the Father. Okay? He was saying, it's not Jesus, the ego, human self, you're seeing here. I see you through the Father's vision. I see your perfection. And I know that you're not the body, but while you inhabit the body, you can be confused about who you are and what you are, right? So how do I serve? I serve by being the light. When I remember myself, capital S self, I am the light because I'm dialing into that energy which we hold here in the upper room. And so take yourself into the upper room, and you can be in the upper room anywhere you are at any point in time, in any location in the universe, even here on earth. Even in the midst of war, you can serve. If you remember who you are, and that you have the ability to express that love, that energy, that light in form. And to withhold, what does that self do? We talk about practicing forgiveness. And that beautiful reading that Beth shared with you. Forgiveness is the key, right? It's absolutely the key. And we define forgiveness as moving back before you gave something. And what did you give? Judgment. When you move back before you give judgment or paint anything with your judgment, with your small-minded, egoic judgment, and that's not even really you. But boy, do we do a good job at acting like that it is us until we discover we have a choice. We really do it, full on. Moving back before you gave judgment, what do you see? Innocence. You see the perfect innocence of the baby. We played a little video earlier. We'll play it before we leave, and it was just I picked it up because it was just children playing. And you can see their innocence. It's remarkable. We can see the innocence in children just like that. But once they hit 15, forget about it. Once they hit 30, it's all over, Charlie. It's over. Moving back before we paint anything with our judgment. The practice of forgiveness is to bring ourselves back to that very moment when we can see the world as innocent. Because as humanity, it continues to paint it with the mind of fear, and the mind of judgment, and the mind of guilt. The outpouring from that mind is defense, separation, hatred. It's just not pretty, and it's not appropriate. It's not necessary anymore. We don't have to be afraid of our brothers and sisters. And people that are acting through that consciousness and through that paradigm may not have a chance to come back to this paradise. This is paradise. Planet Earth is a premier landscape that Spirit has designed for us to come here and evolve through, and this is the opportunity to create heaven on earth. But if we're going to continue to be overwhelmed by the negative energies of fear and hatred and guilt, which outpicture as war and insanity, Spirit says, we tried it. We know the power of love, and it's not that we don't believe that our plan was a good one, but we're tired of our loved ones who have discovered their truth to continue to be held down by those who have not yet discovered that truth. And so as we go forward, we are going to provide another opportunity for those who will not do the work to bring themselves to a certain level of awareness and hinder the rest of my children, Spirit says, on their journey of awakening. And I applaud that. I like the idea that this earth and this world will continue to be more purified, and that you got to kind of have your shit together before you can come back here. Can I hear an amen on that? So let's stand together as the light. That is how we serve. Let's stay together as the light. Let's stand strong. Let's don't judge. Let's don't take sides. Let's don't throw stones. Let's remember, we are all innocent. In the eyes of Spirit, all of your brothers and sisters are innocent. They're doing the best they can, but it's not so difficult to see how they are indeed overwhelmed by fear. So let's stand tall. Our strength lies in our defenselessness. Let's not be afraid to have our voices heard. And what do we need to say? Are you there? And then what do we need to say? Whatever we're guided to say. Because Spirit always knows exactly what you need to say to be the most perfect expression of love and to disarm those who are acting out of fear and help them to awaken to the truth of who they are, what they are, and how they can also join us in being the light workers of the world and saving this world and returning it and aligning it with the purpose that we came here to begin with, to create heaven on earth. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I love you so much.